interviewing Mike McKay, so I want to introduce him to you. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about your background. Actually, I'll just frame that up a little bit. So let me restart that since we go so far back. So, for anybody watching this today, I'm interviewing Mike McKay. He's one of our franchise partners, been with us for what, 8 years now or so, Mike?
Yep, 8.
Yep. And Mike and I actually go way back to before we had kids. And we both worked in the same shop together. I was scheduling the factory, or in charge of scheduling the factory that he was running. And so we got to know each other a lot back then, stayed in touch through the years. When I got out of the corporate world, we just stayed in touch. And at a certain point, Mike was sick of the corporate world and called me up and said, how do I get to go do what you do? And he came through our vetting process back then. And he's been with us, like I said, now for 8 years. So Mike, why just share your story a little bit. I gave the thumbnail, but why did you, what's your background, and why did you get sick of that world and decide you wanted to come do something like this?
Background is manufacturing and supply chain. You introduced me. Actually, I didn't even know what supply chain was. And then you let me take the job just before you told me no one's ever made it through more than 6 months in this job before they got fired. But I grew up in that world of supply chain, inventory management, purchasing, became a global supply chain VP. Didn't really have any targets, right? I wanted to be a VP of a $1 billion company before I was 40. I got promoted when I was 38. And I still remember this guy named Mike Orr looking at me saying, hey, congratulations. You now have the job you're going to have for the next 27 years till you can retire. Feeling like that was kind of dejecting. So stayed in the world, good money, right? I got closer and closer to a CEO who I really didn't have much respect for. So I left the company and went to a different role. After I'd been there about 5 years, I started getting coached by a guy named David Herdlinger, who's coaching me still. His job.
Yeah, he was one of your references when you came through our process. I remember talking to Dave.
Yeah. He actually told me I shouldn't go become a coach, and for God's sake, don't become an action coach. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, hey, will you talk to Craig? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I take back everything I said. So it's a business that can be difficult to be in, but if you're going to have support from you guys like that, he's like, yeah, I'm on board if you're going to coach. So he still coaches me. But after a couple of years, while I was working at that last company, we were sitting down in Georgia where he is, and staring out at the ocean in a hotel, and it was right on the beach, and it was like a nice warm day, and the curtains are blowing and there's a breeze in there, and he just looks at me and he's like, so is your objective to be a shitty husband and an absentee father? And I'm just like, huh. That was not my objective. He's
good coaching question.
Then why did you become that? And so it shifted my perspective. My boss and I never really got along anyway. So one day I told my boss he was the effing dumbest thing I've ever heard an executive say. Can't believe I work for you. And he's like, well, tomorrow you won't anymore. So I called Beth and I'm like, hey, I just got fired. And it was actually on her birthday. And guess what she said? Well, thank God, because he really turned into an asshole working with those guys.
Wow. So Dave really knew what he was talking about.
Took a about a month and a half off and drove out to the Grand Canyon with Connor, who I was not talking to at the time, my oldest kid. Really, I just wanted to kick him out of the house. So Beth's like, no, if you're going to take time off, you have to take Connor with you as my penalty. So I got back, interviewed a few places, and it was all the same, right? Just treat people like crap. They're disposable. Who cares about the community, right? show us how you can come in and shut factories down and help us lay off our workforce. And I mean, interview after interview, I'm just like, I can't go do that anymore. And way back when I tried to hire you to run that factory in Columbus for us, right? It was the first time you said, I'm not getting back into that game. You need to come and see what we do. And I wasn't ready at the time. Like, I hadn't even met David or didn't know what coaching was, but you know, you and Orr and Rasmussen and Purdon kind of are my personal board of directors. So when I realized I couldn't go back to work, I just couldn't do it. I finally asked you what Action was about and showed me that core intellectual property, and that was it for me. I was in. So
very cool. So what was your vision, Mike, when you first started? So you decided to do this. What was your vision when you first started? What's your vision today? It's obviously shifted a lot and changed a lot through the years.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And I think my vision when I first started was to have a really cool job like Herdlinger had. Still has, right? He's still an executive coach. So he coaches chefs in Vegas and hospital CEOs. And then I started at home. I was a disaster working from home. Just too many distractions for me. I didn't know how to do this business anyway. And then I hired Steve Leach, was the first action coach to coach me. And he got me up to whatever. I hadn't sold anything for 5 months, and Steve helped me coach me through closing 5 clients the first month that I worked with them. And then he kind of got me to $30,000 a month or so. And then I realized I didn't really want a job. like the game of business is the game of business, right? It's not the job of business. And so spending time around Brad and you guys and some of the other top 100 coaches in the world kind of expanded our view of what we could do. So Susan Thompson, who's my business partner, and you and I were talking in a net one day, and we're like, hey, we should do a $5 million firm. And we're like, oh, cool, let's go do that. And then it was really boring because what we didn't know at the time and got from Brad later was it was boring because we knew how we could do that. So it just wasn't a challenge.
Yep.
So Brad challenged us one night. We were out there at one of his master classes. Your dreams aren't big enough. And we're like, I don't know, $5 million. Like, that's cool. And he's like, no, I want you guys to go tonight, come up with a $100 million business plan and come back tomorrow and we'll talk about it. So we went and really couldn't come up with any reason why not to make a $100 million business plan. So then we screwed up and told Brad that was our goal, and now it's got to be our goal. So since then
the ActionCOACH knows that now.
Yeah. Since then we had this vision of, a big Taj Mahal office building and professional services building, but lots of the things we've learned have led us down this path of it's going to be multiple offices that have 10 people in them, supporting 250 clients, which gives us lots of cool program flexibility as well. So it's pretty clear now. And since then, Susan and I were both in the day-to-day part of our office. She got kicked up to start working on the infrastructure of multiple office firm. I've taken the market president job to finish building this one and prove it out. And so now we are on the path of how do you build out 25 offices in a pretty short window. Like, the objective is to have it up and running by 2027. And brought that all the way back to there's only one thing we need to do, which is figure out how to build a marketing machine to sign 20 clients a month. And it's late. We're on the 13th or 13th already, and we've only signed 5 this month, so we're a little behind. But COVID, we had people scared, and we had to reshift all of our marketing programs. And the ones we have now are pretty intense and pretty powerful. So I'm not surprised we have 5. I'd be happier if we had 8 right now, but we'll end up with 15 or 16 this month versus that many in the last 2 months. and that's just progress that we're going to get on track to get all 20.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID, how did that impact things for you and your clients?
Well, we have 2 clients that got hurt financially. One was a restaurant that was closed by the state for a while. Since then, we put them on complimentary coaching because they've been a client for a while. And just yesterday, I found out they're paying again. And we found them a $22,000 program that they've implemented while they were in COVID. So his numbers are bigger than they were before. He's back, and we have another client who owns a recreational facility, and they can't have any organized leagues or anything. So we still got to get them through that. The other 66 clients last month are all up about 20% over last year. When we started COVID, we gave them all the challenge because the first month was a panic. So the challenge was, let's build a plan to double your revenue in the second half of the year,
Right.
to overcome this. But building that plan helped them come out of COVID stronger anyway. There's plenty of businesses who are still scared. So we're just have our folks taking advantage of that. And then our guys got a little scared. What's that?
A lot of their competitors are scared, and
Yeah, that's what they're taking advantage of.
and they're taking market share.
Yeah. So we keep telling them, right, now is the time to make the slice of the pie bigger, even though the pie might be smaller, because while the market grows, then the bigger slice is going to grow faster than the bigger pie. And so we have some people with pretty significant growth challenges right now, which is
good for us.
It's more fun to work on growth than it is to work on scarcity. But for as far as our business, our team got a little scared the first month and a half too. A couple of our people are young and have young kids and had to work from home. So we had to make all those adjustments. None of our old marketing strategies worked. Face-to-face networking doesn't work if you can't do it. So Doug Winnie, who coaches us from a business aspect, started a strategy that we've executed and is actually getting leveraged even more by Joseph right now. And Emily's actually uncovered a way to activate referrals that we've always wanted to do, but we've never gotten done. So that transition, like it was 180 degrees on marketing. So that took us longer than I would have liked it to take us. But right now the opportunity is bigger than it's ever been for our industry.
So what do you think? Yeah, what do you think the go forward is for us because of?
Pick the right market, and there's potential that's never been like it is right now. Owners are, some of them are still scared. We're not right for 95% of the market anyway. They're just going to decide they'd rather, like I've had people tell me, this guy has a $9 million a year company, told me he would rather fail and go bankrupt than work with us, because that would mean he'd have to admit that he made some mistakes in the past. Like,
that makes no sense.
What?
Yeah. But,
well, just before you go bankrupt, call us, because we might want to buy your company. It's not worth anything. It's got a lot of value. It's not worth anything, but we can make it work, right?
Yep.
So if you target the right people and the right mindset, massive opportunities right now, just like there were in 2008, 2009.
Yep, exactly. And I started 6 months before 9/11, so same thing. Bunches of opportunities.
One of the things that I think makes this even more leveraged is the baby boom generation retiring.
I think so.
A ton of people that are buying businesses. There's a ton of businesses to be bought. So our clients are looking at acquisitions, and it's for sure the freaking golden age of business for the right industries.
It really is. And the second generation failure rates are north of 70%.
Yep.
So they need to step in and have the right systems and tools to keep that thing humming so it doesn't fail under their leadership.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to be nervous from a marketing standpoint when we talked about things like, we're a 1.5% or a 2% company. And I'm like, how can you run a business if there's only 2% of the business owners that are going to engage in coaching? And then we looked at the stats, and the state's got 660,000 businesses, so only 2% is 12,000. That's a pretty big coaching company.
Yeah.
And so we see the same thing in our clients, right? If you can focus on the 2% and say, I can't do this, right? That's too much work. Or you can focus on the 2% and say, like in Madison, 56,000 businesses, 2% is whatever, 100 and some. And most of the times you can't get to that 100, it's 1,000. And most, like we're building $100 million firm, it's gonna be able to handle 6,000 clients. So most coaching firms, when they get started in the first few months or maybe even a couple of years, are only going to be looking for 15 or 20 or 30 clients. Well, now it's look at the 15 or 20 or 30 out of the 1,000 that are buying coaching, right? Not the 98% that aren't. The fact that 1,000 are. So we just got to find those 1,000, right?
Exactly. And the 2%, because of the diffusion of innovation, is what's going to influence the next 14%.
That's right.
They'll see the 2% and go, okay, now I need to be a part of that as well.
That's right. And we're seeing that. We're not like the foreigners when you talk to business owners about coaching now. Maybe it's because we talk to so many, but it's way more common that people well, usually they know what bad coaching is. But at least they've heard the term coaching, and we're not some kind of foreign language to them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
All that stuff's getting easier. The path, you've heard me say a million times, the fact that Dr. Hartley got to Emerald status in 11 months, really that should just kind of be the way things go now. Right? Yeah. He didn't know anything about coaching when he started.
Exactly.
So, and I think for firm builders, we shared this a couple of weeks ago, don't go through all the pain we went through to learn. I mean, just start where we're at and grow from there and blaze the path for us too. So.
Right. So on COVID, let's go back to COVID for a second. How quickly did like us as master licensees and the franchisor and even other franchisees within the community of ActionCOACH react, make some pivots, create new programs and things like that to leverage what was going on and help our clients deal with it, as well as position ourselves to bring on new clients as soon as the initial shock was over?
Well, have you done anything? As a week, right? Brad was up on board with a week, and you guys were sharing all that stuff with the first, chaos, pivot, survival, secrets. Maybe it was week 2. But I know that like we were out in front and you guys all, the encouragement was talk to everybody, right? We're just here to help people today. Yep. So we were in front and providing content and information, kind of being the calming influence for the business community. For us, our first thing was we got shut down March 16th, I think, and our first webinar was the last week in March, might have been the first week in April. And then every single week, Brad and the ML community and the coaching community was providing updates on content. So we were doing we started with 5 webinars a week. Every day we did webinars. And the first 5 or 6 weeks of the shutdown, we were doing 90 or 100 people a week were on those webinars.
Yeah.
And then we kept going for about, I don't know, probably 10 weeks. And then we cut it down to 3. And now we're in rehab mode and get your shit back together. So now we're back to the core. Yep. Keys to, make more and work less every week. Exactly. But the feedback from the business community was like, nobody's doing what you guys are doing. Nobody's leading the way you guys are leading. Nobody's addressing this head on. And there is a lot of people trying ineffectively to do things. But yeah, it was a huge benefit to be in front of all, like everybody we knew was marketing our workshops for their members. And so it was highly leveraged, and a lot of gratitude from the community and a lot of payoff still happening from that.
Yeah, we're experiencing the same thing, all as you know, all over the nation and all over the world from it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So how would you describe, from your perspective, Mike, and your experience doing this, how would you describe the culture of Action Coach? I mean, we've got it listed, but I know coming out of the corporate world, and you came out of the corporate world, some of the companies we worked for had some core values, but did they ever live them, or did they only care about hitting the number at the end of the month and the end of the quarter? So how would you describe the culture from your perspective?
Well, I wouldn't say that we don't care about everybody hitting numbers, but it's different in that we want it for you, right? Like there's not a benefit to me to, a Tim or a Sean getting their numbers, other than it's awesome to see somebody be able to get what they want to get out of life. So I think the first thing is that there is no scarcity mindedness here. Like it's one of our culture points, abundance, world abundance through business re-education. And, you might get a little flack from people like, why aren't you trying? Or, we don't want people to give up on themselves. But man, the cheering for people when they succeed and the things you can create in your life, and everybody just being happy for you instead of jealous, that's totally different than anything I've ever experienced. We were just talking about it in lunch because we're trying to figure out what our role as board members would be for our 25 offices. And one of my things in the corporate world was no matter what you did, it was never good, right? You could smoke your budget and over deliver big freaking numbers. And the only question you never get asked is why couldn't you do more than that?
Right.
So we want to build a culture that has big goals, but just celebrates the shit out of winning, hitting the goals so that we can have businesses that create great lives and not just great jobs, not just great businesses. So I think the culture it's hard to explain because I would have never envisioned like anybody giving a shit about how I ran my franchise, but it might be a little bit different for us because we were stupid enough to tell everybody we're building 100 millions and now they're all watching. So we get unsolicited advice from lots of people, seems like every day. But I also know it's coming from the spot of, man, we want you guys to do that so you can show us how, and then we can build our businesses that way too, instead of, we hope you guys fail and learn your lesson, which is what the corporate world was.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is refreshing in here. And not even just because you went public with a giant goal, but even like we had a franchisee that was struggling with some stuff, and I reached out to you and said, hey, would you just mind calling him, and don't tell him I suggested it, but I think you can help him a lot. And that's the nature of our business. And you did, and look at the breakthroughs he's been having.
He's on a good run.
Yeah. So
I think that in the ability, if you show, I mean, this is going to sound bad, right? But
yeah,
I don't really care. I've been in the top 50 or top 100 for 5 or 6 years now. Global executive coach of the year 2 times in a row. If you show me that you want to win at the game of business and help people, we'll bend over friggin' backwards to give you everything we can possibly give you that might be helpful. Like, I'm not here to keep you from winning. I mean,
right.
There's no benefit to me. It's benefit to us if the brand succeeds and you succeed as a human being. But man, the things that, like, the business is significantly bigger from intellectual property and tools and products and programs now than it was when I joined. Mm-hmm. And we've created some of that, like Planning Club, right? I saw the other day on the Planning Club website, now it has our PowerPoints that we put together.
Very cool.
And part of me is like, what? And then I'm like, well, of course it is. And anybody who asks for it, we'd give it to them anyway. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know any of the top 50 people. If you called them, if the newest franchisee called them, every single one of us would pour what we can pour into you to make sure you're successful. You got to do something with it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're really, you made me call failed franchise owners before you let me, like you were not going to take my check. But at least you made me do some work. And I'm like, I remember asking you, why should I call them? And you're like, just call them. So I talked to 3 guys, one of whom it's one of the people that had sued Brad way back when.
Oh, okay.
Their stories were unbelievably consistent. Well, I bought this franchise and they were supposed to give me clients. And, oh yeah, they're all, I'm like, well, what did you do about getting clients? Well, nothing. ActionCOACH was supposed to give them to me. I'm like, I don't think that's the way the world works. And then I called the other lists, right, of the people that were still in, and they're all like, hey man, as long as you're willing to go get clients and use our tools and follow the marketing process and take on board some advice from other people that have done it and will be willing to help you, then have at it. So the difference is that if you want to be spoon fed, then keep a job someplace, because it is a business. This just happens to be an amazing business. And we got all the tools that we need to do it. So that was a big BFO for me, that the people that had thrown in the towel, and I've seen some people come and go even in the period of time I've been here, and it's unbelievably consistent, right? I don't want to do the work. So while I empathize, they chose to fail, and you can make that choice at anywhere in your life. So just choose to freaking succeed and help other business owners, and it could be a great place to be.
Exactly. And to your point about anybody would bend over backwards to help anybody that's within the system. How many of those people, said, hey, Mike, can you help me? Can I come visit for a couple of days and just see what you're doing and understand it? None of that. Who comes to visit? The people that want to be really successful.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like the legend is when Brad puts an event on, it's going to all be top 100 coaches that are there. And the people that have the most opportunity, except for when we first started, Brad did his masterclass series, Hartley was there. Every single one, like within a month of starting out. So no surprise, Hartley's in the top 50 in the globe either. So I guess the other message is, like, we're taught in the corporate world. Like for me, there was one VP job and I was getting it. I wasn't asking for help from anybody. I wasn't taking help from anybody.
You weren't going to share with other people.
All the bad corporate behavior you could ever imagine was how I learned how to live my life to get that goal. But that doesn't serve you here, right? What serves you here is being curious. We all have huge levels of limiting beliefs, and none of us is really as good at the things we think we are anyway. So the thing is, millions of dollars a year worth of advice. Like if you were going to work with 10 of the top 50 coaches in the world, you'd be paying them $500,000 a year to have access to them, but we'll just answer the freaking phone, right? Pick up the damn phone and reach out. And we all started where a new franchise owner starts. We all didn't know jack shit about the industry. So nobody's going to pick up the phone and say, oh, you're an idiot, you should have known all that, and not help if somebody asks for it. And it might be as simple as a comment of, replace this word with that word and you'll be able to close people and enroll them. So, and it might be as, it might sound like a little thing, but it might be as much as, hey, I had imposter syndrome when I started, and that's what you're going through, and it's totally okay. And here's 3 tools you can use to drop it. Just pick one of them and test it and call me next week and tell me what happened. So while that might sound really simple, that imposter syndrome thing is a freaking killer for people if they don't reach out and get some help with it or advice with it.
Exactly. So how would you describe the caliber of the ActionCOACH team, the caliber of the people that we're assembling the future with?
I don't know. Do you want me to fawn? Like, they're amazing people. Amazing people find us because they want to do what we do. And if they're not like abundance minded and happy, right, like having fun and wanting to live a great life, then they're not going to believe in what we do anyway, so they don't show up. So I mean, family focused. Not everybody's made the whole leap to a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. Lots of coaches still love to coach, which is cool, right? And but they do it in a way that's good for their family and the communities that they live in, and the business owners that they get to affect, and those business owners' employees. And it's weird because when I meet people outside the bubble, right, that aren't clients, they tell me the weirdest freaking things, like hiring's really hard, and oh man, I'm working 80-hour weeks and I don't know what to do for marketing. And I'm just looking at them like, I didn't either. I got someone to help me with it. And I got a whole team of people that will be happy to help you. Oh, you don't understand, Mike. For me, things are really hard. I'm like, I totally understand. It's just a choice if you want to stay there. Because when we talk to our clients or other action coaches, that's not what you hear. None of us have no problems, right? It's not like, oh, everything is sunshine and Skittles. But what you hear is, man, I had to hire 6 people and it was hard work, but I followed this process and I did it and I got an amazing team now. Or I need a new marketing strategy and I'm testing these 3 things. This one looks like it's going to work and these 2 don't. Any ideas on how to tweak it a little more to make it work? So it's not that the people don't have challenges. We all have challenges, right?
Yep.
But everybody in the community that we work with is working on those, like actually actively making an impact on their business.
A personal and professional development that we
right.
have to embrace in this business.
That's right.
Yep.
So
yeah,
part of the COVID world was a lot less scary and intimidating for us than it was for some of the people out in the public, because I mean, we know everybody's going to hunker down, so our objective is to market more.
Right.
There's still people buying what you're selling. Your competitors are curling up. Let's go get it, right? Let's go take their market share. Even in industries where we coach, like we coach 7 or 8 remodeling companies who you'd think are direct competitors, but they're just taking market share from the other 100 that aren't paying attention to the business, right? And they all have their own niche. They all have their own specialty. And so you can coach many companies that theoretically do the exact same thing if you truly have an abundance mindset.
Yeah, and speak to the community of clients too, that we build with an Action Coach and that you're building in Madison, and even like at BizX on a national scale and things like that, the community that we bring together of clientele.
Well, they kind of think like we do, right? Like business should be this amazing experience, and I'm going to learn whatever I need to learn and become whoever I need to become in pursuit of that. But they're pretty cool, high performing. And again, even the freaking remodelers, or even when we have theoretically competitive industries, like those remodelers refer work to each other now.
Yeah.
Oh, you're downtown. I'm not driving downtown. It's too much of a drive for me. It costs me, an hour each way. So, hey, Pete, I'm going to call these people and tell them you're the guy to do the job. They do business together. For us, on average, our clients are doing about $20,000 plus per year amongst themselves, or amongst each client is doing on average 20,000 with other members of the coaching community, because they know that they're working on their businesses, and I think a little bit of it is because they know we're in the middle of it, so they have another advocate if one of them's kind of not living up to what their expectations are.
Yep.
But I just heard at lunch today, we have 4 clients in the middle of a big remodeling project for one of their shops. And it's pretty cool that they didn't go talk to other people. They just hired the ones that were in the community.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Emily and Joseph really specialize. I'm about the money, right? And Action, ultimately, we're about money. Whatever you do with it, do whatever you want with it. But if your business isn't growing and making more money for you to be able to pull the things off that you want to execute, it's in trouble. And so we're always focused on Emily and Joseph on connecting clients together that can and should do business together, so that we're facilitating them growing their business just with our community members. And imagine how powerful that's going to be when there's 6,000 people in the Action Coach of Wisconsin community, right? You could work your whole lifetime and just work with other clients. Like, that would be awesome.
Exactly. So yeah, let's touch on the money, because you mentioned that. And you got to be making money. You can't fund the things you want to fund in life, whether it's charity or personal legacy or the toys you want to buy or whatever, right, unless your business is successful in making money. What's the why behind why you guys want to build a $100 million firm? What's the big why that's driving that?
Mine is to so people have great communities to live in that are strong and wealthy and secure, and people can have great jobs, and it came because I used to shut factories down in mid-sized and small towns, and we were big employers, and I had the realization that nobody cares about your community except you. And I got kids. I want them to grow up in a strong community. I want my neighbors' kids to be in a strong community. And so the $100 million goal, the 100 million part is just a result of this objective of building an organization that can be coaching 6,000 businesses at a time. Because then we're going to be impacting 600,000 people and 600,000 families and all those communities that those businesses operate in. So, I mean, our version of the vision is Wisconsin abundance through business reeducation. Because I know you're taking care of Ohio, and Kevin and the Texas team is taking care of Texas, and as we grow our firm and start leveraging out to the next office and the next office, and there's uncovered places in the U.S., then we might want to coach there too. So,
very cool. So
we can make the whole state stronger with people having great jobs, living great lives, and strong communities. We should do that.
I totally 100% agree. And so what's a day in the life like? What's a day in the life as an action coach? Today, it's a little bit different for you than it was, when you were coaching. Yeah. So let's say a year and a half, 2 years into your business, what was a day in the life like, and what's a day in the life like today?
Well, it was either marketing day or coaching day. So when I was way back when I was Emerald personally, and averaging $45,000 a month, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were pretty much coaching for me it was 7 o'clock in the morning until 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I've put everybody back to back to back, and my fees were lower back then. So I think every other client, I think I was coaching 27 people at the most. And then Monday, well, when it was just me, Monday was a networking day. Okay. And marketing, I used to do like direct mail letters, and so just stuff, right? Like send letters out, make sure that my list was clean. And then Friday, usually we would do some sort of event here. So a 6 steps or a speaking engagement. And then, we'd kind of wrap things up by the middle of the afternoon on Friday. But
so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were the coaching days.
Yeah. Yep. And now I coach Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning, but it's got to happen between 8 and noon. Otherwise, Monday afternoon is my team day, so I coach my coaches and my marketing people. Tuesday is marketing activities day, so strategic alliances. I still write for our business because copywriting is something that I like to do. And then Wednesday afternoons are open time. So the target is to play golf with somebody who can have an impact for us. Thursday's owner's day now. So Susan and I spend Thursday together until about 1 or 1:30. And then she's generally doing business owner interviews, and it's Thursday. So I have golf league. And then Fridays, I coach my marketing people each twice a week because they're the prime, like that's prime real estate for those two,
Yep.
Joseph and Emily, to be spun up. And then a team lunch on Fridays often, and Friday afternoons, because we have 5 coaches here. We do a round robin and cover everybody's clients, and then coaching and cocktails. So we get the community of one-to-one clients and mentor club clients. Every other Friday at 3:00, we're on Zoom if they want to be there. If not, they don't have to be there, but we just put the value of coaching thing together. I think I sent you that value stack. And
Yep.
just because of the nature of my role now, every other week coaching with me is at least $2,800, and they get it because it's part of what I do for the community as the market president.
Yeah.
So they're getting another $30,000 plus of coaching. And I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I got a lot of experience. And because of that, we can solve problems sometimes on those phone calls and get the strategy picked so that their coach can help them execute that strategy. But it's just another way to take care of the community.
Awesome.
So to begin with, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were heavy coaching days. Monday and Friday were marketing. I was a lazy marketer. So if I was to do it over, I would probably say Monday afternoon and Friday morning would be more than enough time to market if I would get off my butt and do the things that most of the time was spent avoiding doing those things. So I think to start a firm, to start a practice, if you'll just do two or three marketing strategies, pay a telemarketer for diags, for example, was one of mine, right? Just use the letters out of the freaking thing and send 20 letters a day, mail 20 letters a day, handwritten envelopes, and do a networking event every day. If you were intentional about it, that would be enough business to get, 2 to 3 or 4 clients a month. And as you're starting as an individual coach, like we want a client every day, but an individual coach would have trouble doing that. I would have had trouble doing that.
Right.
Plus, you don't need that kind of pace to build a 30 client or 25 client book of business over 5 months anyway.
Exactly.
You're doing 50 or 60 grand a month in revenue, and then you can start hiring employee coaches if you want or what have you.
So let's chat about that for a second, because you started as a single coach and you built your book of business. Now you're building out a firm. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done different in the beginning if you would have had the vision to build a firm on day one?
I would have never coached anybody.
Tell me about that.
Nobody freaking believes me, but I would have never. It's hard. Like for the longest time, I was the highest producer, right? For most of the time that we were a firm, I was 50 to 70% of the revenue each month. And it wasn't because my team wasn't capable. It's because my ego wasn't capable, right? I thought I was really important. And so then we went down this path of, well, I know more than you, so I should, they get a better coaching experience with me. Well, I've been coaching for 7 years and you've been coaching for 1. You have no chance to know what I do, right?
Right.
Then I had the BFO. Well, I wonder, Bill at 8 months in is where I was at 4 years in, because we do the Friday, coach everybody's clients, coach the coaches on their clients every Friday. So they're not where I am because they haven't been 8 years. And I'm still coaching, so I'll probably stay a bit ahead of them. But really now it's just about getting the team up to date. And if I would have known that, I would have hired an EBC and a marketing person and not taken on the coaching activities, because it's hard. It was hard to get out, and it was expensive to get out of doing it myself as well.
Yeah, and the clients forge a pretty deep relationship with you, and some of them want your style, and they're not.
We didn't sell we didn't sell the firm, right? I was selling me as a coach. Now we sell the firm. So you get me, Jackie, Corey, Bill, and Susan,
Yeah.
which is good for retention. The last time we had a coach retire, we didn't lose any clients. And previously, if a coach left, all their clients disappeared too. So it would be a lot easier to start it as a professional services business than to start it as having a job as a coach, which is what I did.
And now Ashley Thompson, who you know, obviously, over in Australia, also a very successful firm builder. And he personally takes a different path. He's like, I really love coaching clients, and I'm always going to keep a book of clients for myself. I'm never going to get rid of them. What would your suggestion be to somebody like that? I think it's basically, you just said it, sell the firm, don't just sell yourself, and just handpick the clients that you personally really want to work with, but sell the firm, not yourself. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't give Ashley that advice, but I would give Ashley advice of keep doing what you're doing, because they're freaking built the exact firm that he wanted.
Yep. He's got what he wants.
So I think that's part of the issue, and the opportunity is you can build your action franchise to be anything you want it to be. But for me, that advice would be, if he falls over dead, his clients are going to go away. And I want to build a 100-year business, not a 10-year business when I feel like retiring. I want, the legacy to be some guy started this company, and this company is making strong, successful professional entrepreneurs throughout the whole friggin' state of Wisconsin. And I'm glad whoever that person was started it.
Yeah. Your name doesn't need to be on it.
Yeah. In fact, my objective is for nobody to know who I am. The bigger we get, the less obvious my role is, because I think that I just think that has the potential to be like a big law firm, but if you're not the name partner, how do you keep growing it?
Right.
And then the only way to grow it is to have individual producers and rainmakers, but those guys are, the producer rainmaker is a unicorn. Finding a coach, there's tons of people that are good at what we do that don't want to do business development. So if I can be behind the scenes and instigate a lot of business development, that's where I'm going to be.
Yep. Awesome.
They don't need to know my name. It doesn't help them anyway. It only helps me.
Yeah. Very cool.
So
what's the support been like? Talk about the support from us, from the franchisor, just in general. How would you describe the support?
As much as we're willing to take advantage of. Like I wouldn't characterize it as, hey, these guys are going to be in your face telling you what to do. But I think that's part of running a business, right? It's your business that you're buying. And if you need something, reach out and get help with it. And then in that case, there's never been a case when it's been withheld, right? I mean, Brad's a freaking genius, and he's not always available. But I'm pretty confident if you texted Brad and said, hey, Mike McKay wants to talk to you, and it's important, that Brad would call me. Because of the position that we are in the company and the dedication we have to the company. And I think he would do that for almost everybody. Now, if you're a whinger, right, and you're sitting around bitching and moaning and whining, then I wouldn't expect that the whole organization is going to love to talk to you, because we don't have people like that here. But, because Brad knows what we're trying to do, and, we're pushing the business forward as fast as we can. All those guys, I mean, there's nobody on the top 100 list or Brad or at corporate that I would say, geez, I shouldn't call that guy if I needed to talk to him. Yep. So it's as good or as little as you want. When I first started, I didn't want much support. I mean, I used Leach as a master coach, and, God love you and Annette, but you're still our master licensee. So there's still a relationship there that's different than with a coach. But I went to everything that you guys put on. I didn't even go to all the global crap when I started, because I didn't realize yet. I didn't realize it could actually be like it is. I thought, I'm like, but now, conferences, it's crazy. It's crazy what we have access to.
It is.
Millions of dollars of value a year of coaching if you want to take advantage of it.
Yep, totally agree. So you mentioned your family earlier, and we're all about family, and we're all about business and success and community and all that. It- Oftentimes in the corporate world, your family kind of gets crapped on. Like you were even talking about back before you left the corporate world, you turn into a bad husband and father, according to Herdlinger, and your wife even echoed that. How has this changed? How has your experience here and fully embracing this changed you as a father and a husband?
Well, frankly, since I used to travel all the time, the first thing was being home almost all the time. And we really, Beth and I dated. It was long distance. When we got married, I worked night shifts and she worked day shifts, so we didn't see each other. And then when I went to Newell, I started traveling, so we didn't see each other. So we were a little worried about that. And there's days when it's stressful, right? Like the startup days, and there's days when I'm not good at keeping my stress to myself. So, but actually it took me 7 years, and now she does a lot of work for us. And it's really changed the dynamic of our relationship, but we can go see our kids when we want to go see our kids as they get older and move around. The job's portable, so we can go any place we want to go and still get the work done. Talking to my oldest kid, who's living with us now because he wants us to pay for college and he can't afford rent in college. And since he didn't go, we spent his college money on the other kids. And so it's quite a bit different. It's not, I'm not the easiest guy to live with because I'm fairly driven, and I want everybody to be as committed to all the community. And sometimes Beth has to pull me back and like, hey, you need to be committed to your family too. Like not just everybody out in the world. So it's way better. Just to see my wife every day is significantly better than we ever had it before. But I'm still a work in progress.
Aren't we all? And my wife's my partner, and that adds another dimension challenge we get to deal with from time to time.
I would have never thought, but I mean, Beth has a set of skills that we've been missing forever. And as she's through COVID, right, she's been willing to do she's a super high level super high skilled process person. So we've got systems built and rebuilt and replaced that we've never had before. It just makes everything run easier. But she's like, this is your dream. And it took me 7 years to get her to go see COACH. And then it wasn't just my dream. Then it was like, we should see what this is about. So I'm still working on trying to get her full time. But I don't know if she will. She's a teacher and she really loves teaching, but right now the teaching system isn't great. So
yeah, and for the people watching, who's COACH? What's COACH?
Oh, sorry, Kirk Ashley is I don't know what you'd call him. He's like a high level performance. He's just an amazing human being that like radiates love and happiness and warmth and performance. And you had him come over, and it was May last year, right? It's a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For one of the 2-day events that you guys put on. And so for me, it was like the old time tent revival. The first time I ever physically felt somebody say something and it changed me. Like, and so he's just one of hundreds of people that we've met. Darren Hardy, and I followed Darren Hardy, Brad, you, Bruce Wilson, Bruce Campbell, what's his face from Engage and Grow, Richard, and then Jeffrey Gittimer, and I mean the list goes on and on and on of people that are in this orbit.
Marshall Goldsmith.
Yeah, 2 days of training with Marshall Goldsmith and a group of 50 people, something he'd never done before. He did for us.
Yep.
Michael Logier, like the
That's
emotion
amazing.
code, and like, holy cow, this unbelievable stuff that happens in the world that happens to be really useful. So
Yep, exactly. Any parting comments at all? What else? What do you want to leave this with as we wrap up, Mike?
well, my favorite comment of all, if you're going to do this, hire a coach, and hire a coach that's doing what you want to do. Because it cost me 5 months by being stubborn about that. So there is a group of master coaches that we do this for the people that use it. But if you are not willing to invest in coaching for yourself and you're going to buy a franchise, then that's not congruent with the way the world operates. So it'll just cause you to slow down. So that's always my number one piece of advice, period. But if you want to make the world a better place and have super powerful tools and an unbelievable community who actually cares about you being successful, sometimes more than you might, then this is an amazing business and an amazing industry, and it's an unbelievable time to be part of it. So
Yeah. Hey, one last question, Mike, because I know some of your goals are acquisition, buy, build, sell, or
yep.
private equity firm kind of a thing, eventually a giant private equity firm. How does this benefit you in terms of the opportunity to buy more businesses?
I think just the core skill set of, like, my background was big business, and it's different, right? The corporate world is different from a culture and style standpoint, and it does turn out that we use the same tools for small business that they use in big business. We just use them much more effectively and quickly. But learning how, the first time you take somebody through the 4-hour hiring process, even I didn't believe it was going to work. But now executing those tools and teaching people how to do it, there's just, now we would hire a general manager right off the bat and put that acquisition under management instead of trying to do it ourselves.